All right, let's dive in. Today we're tackling something really interesting. It's late 2025, and crypto is at this bizarre crossroads. I mean, it's a story of massive success and at the same time, some pretty surprising struggles. It's all happening at once, so let's unpack it. You know, this quote really just hits the nail on the head, a seismic shift. And look, that's not just some buzzword, right? It's the real deal. It speaks to how the biggest players, the most powerful institutions, are completely changing how they see digital assets. Something deep, something fundamental has really changed here. So it's no longer a question of if crypto is going to be part of the system. I mean, it's here, it's arrived. The whole conversation is shifted. It's gone from being this thing on the fringes to being front and center in finance. We're talking Washington, D.C., we're talking Wall Street. It's mainstream. Okay, so how on earth did we get here? Well, the first big piece of this puzzle, and you could argue it's the most important one, is a huge policy shift coming straight out of the US government. And that brings us to something called the Genius Act. Now, this wasn't just another piece of paper floating around Congress. No way. This was landmark stuff. It finally brought some real clarity and legitimacy to stablecoins. You know, the digital dollars that are basically the backbone of the whole crypto world. And by making them hold safe stuff, like US Treasuries, it built this super important bridge of trust. A bridge between old school finance and the new world of crypto.
And hey, don't just take it from me. Listen to this. This is a Federal Reserve governor talking. I mean, when someone at that level, at the central bank, is calling stablecoins an established and fast-growing part of the financial landscape, well, you just know the game has changed. For good.
So, with that green light from Washington, you get confidence. And what follows confidence? Money. We're talking big money. Wall Street, the same guys who were so skeptical for years, they're not just dipping their toes in anymore. They are jumping in with both feet. And this chart, wow, it just lays it all out, doesn't it? Get this. According to the Alternative Investment Management Association, more than half, over 50%, of all traditional hedge funds are now into digital assets. That's a big jump from 47% just last year. So yeah, this is not some niche little side bet anymore. This is a core part of their game plan. And if you want to see what that looks like in actual dollars, well, here you go. $55 billion. That's how much cash has flooded into Bitcoin ETFs just this year. That is a truly staggering amount of money, and it just screams how serious the big players are now. It's not just the hedge funds either. We're talking about the core banking system itself. Think about this. JPMorgan, yeah, the same bank whose CEO once called Bitcoin a fraud, is now letting clients use Bitcoin and Ether as collateral for loans. And why the change of heart? It's simple, really. Their biggest clients, the hedge funds, the asset managers, they're demanding it. And I guess the customer's always right, especially when they've got billions of dollars on the line. Okay, so let's recap. Washington's giving the thumbs up. Wall Street is throwing money at it. Everything's looking rosy, right? Well, this is where the story gets really weird and, frankly, a little confusing. Because if you actually look at the markets, they're telling a totally different tale. I mean, it's a totally fair question to ask, right? With all this good news, all this adoption, all this regulatory clarity, you'd expect prices to be going to the moon. You'd think the market would just be on fire. But it's not at all. This headline from just the other day really says it all. All those amazing gains we saw this year, pretty much gone, wiped out. The market is bearish. And yeah, it's been pretty painful. Let's put a hard number on that pain, shall we? So Bitcoin peaked above $125,000 earlier this year. And since then, it's tumbled. We're talking a drop of over 25 grand, putting it below that big psychological $100,000 level. That is a huge drop, and it has definitely shaken a lot of people's confidence. So what is going on here, right? Why this massive disconnect? Well, it all kind of boils down to this one number, 0.86. What's that? It's the 30-day correlation between Bitcoin and the S&P 500. See, for years, the big selling point for crypto was that it was a hedge, that it didn't move with the stock market. But now that it's gone mainstream, well, it's moving in lockstep with stocks. So when Wall Street gets spooked about the economy, crypto gets spooked too, just as hard. So where does that leave us? What does all this mean? You've got these two incredibly powerful forces pulling the market in totally opposite directions. Let's try to make sense of it all and figure out what this new reality for crypto actually looks like.
And this right here, this sums up the whole great recalibration of 2025 perfectly. On one hand, you have these massive regulatory tailwinds, pushing crypto forward, pushing it mainstream. But on the other hand, you have these huge macroeconomic headwinds that are just dragging it down along with every other risk asset out there. That's the big conflict. That's the tug of war that's defining crypto right now.
But, and this is so important, even with the market in the dumps, you have to understand that this bigger shift, it's permanent. Like James Delaney from AMA says, we're at a real turning point. Digital assets are in the mainstream now. They've made the leap, and there is no going back. So really, the most important thing to take away from all this is crypto got what it wanted. It finally achieved that legitimacy, that integration into the big leagues. But that very success means it's not its own little isolated island anymore. It can't hide from the storms of the global economy. For better or for worse, its fate is now completely tied to the wider financial system. And that leaves us with this one giant question for the future. As crypto gets more and more tangled up with the mainstream, does it just get absorbed? Does it become just another asset, another line item on some hedge fund spreadsheet? Or does the technology behind it actually end up changing the whole system from the inside out? That right there is the big question we're all going to be watching in this new era.